This is where recollection of the past takes on decidedly hushed tones. History, bound in leather, packaged in volumes, and giving off that unmistakable odor of a kind of reverential mustiness. That is, until you open up one of these massive volumes and look at the printed word, which is never more forcible than in this setting. And you see this rather thin headline to a column: the trial tie for the Football Association Cup, Queen's Park against Clydesdale. Well, it looks very humble at the moment, but it was the beginning of a tradition. This was the very first Scottish Cup final. And as soon as you read that column, you realize that even in the heart of a library, you cannot keep out the traditional clamour of competition.
One up in record time, Rangers go all out to clinch the cup, with Willie Thornton, number 9, the brain in that fast-moving forward line. What a day for Clyde as captain Tommy Anderson holds aloft the cup, which his team have wrested from Celtic, the previous holders.
Corner for Celtic. It's a good win. It's a goal! A goal by McNeil. And it's still there. It's there. Sosai getting the final touch. Celtic one of the attacking as Kenny Dalglish gets that beautifully set up for him. Sadiq chip, it must be Paul Wilson. And then it is, yes. Bob McGee does it. 2-1.
1874, that was when the first Scottish Cup final was played. It was an age when people were beginning to conjecture about the stamina of the then Prime Minister, Mr. Gladstone, and indeed in a rather portentous editorial just across from the first report on the Scottish Cup final, they began to wonder whether the old man could last the pace as a Prime Minister and whether he should give up or not. Probably gossip that was overshadowing the infant, the Scottish Cup final. Now, the Scottish Cup, of course, had been established and organised the previous year. On the 30th of March, 1873, 8 clubs got together and organised the Scottish Football Association, and the principal competition, of course, the Scottish Cup.
The first winners, the men of Queen's Park, seemed now to be looking straight out disapprovingly at this present age of vulgar professionalism. Their Corinthian rectitude seemed then quite inviolate. Vale of Leven belonged to the same tradition, holding professionalism at bay for 19 years, and they also had the audacity to become the first Scottish team to beat Queen's Park. When they won the Cup in 1877, they turned on the Smollett Fountain in Alexandria. They did so 3 times. The first winner's medal, it looks more like an award for service at Balaclava than winning a football match. Now, teams from the West had dominated the first decade of the Cup, but with Hibs, then Hearts winning, the boundaries widened, and so did the adjectives, for the press were now an inseparable part of the fabric, and forever after, players and managers alike, whether they would admit it or not, would look for those fringe benefits called good reports. And the contemporary reporters remained admirably sanguine about the encroachment of rugby into Hampden. It was too early in the business to be called sacrilege.
Whenever I visit an ancient battlefield, I'm always impressed by the kind of accentuated serenity of the place. Well, this was a battlefield. This is where one of the most famous massacres of all time took place. You see, on the 12th of September, 1885, these gentlemen, Broth by name, got together to beat Aberdeen Bonaccord in the first round of the Scottish Cup by a world record-breaking score of 36 goals to 0. And this gentleman, John Petrie by name, shoemaker by trade, scored 13 goals in a game whose half-time score was 15-0. They're very proud of that record up here, but they must have shivered in apprehension when they realised what was happening in the first round of the Scottish Cup this very season, not far away from another famous battlefield.
Stirling, the beginning of our 1985 trail to Hampden. We'll follow the winners to the end. The castle and monument that day are nodding terms with the clouds, and Anfield Park advertising itself in the gloom. Selkirk have come from the borders in a borrowed bus, not just to win a cup game, but to authenticate themselves. Coming from an area where they tend to throw the ball from one to another, the Selkirk football team might seem to be a minority group. The goalkeeper's name is Richard Taylor. Fame, in an unexpected form, is just around the corner. Their nerves neutralize the presence of the cameras. Their apprehension is really unforced. At just about the same time, feet are clattering down tunnels all over the country. But if you had to ask the average man in the street, He probably couldn't tell you who was playing at Anfield that day. They would later, though. Nobody got really excited about the first goal, but sometimes events can go skidding out of control, and when they do, then the quality of mercy can not only be strained, but can become positively deformed. At halftime, even the traffic of supporters is one way. They might have stopped here, but Rule 7 of Association Football, the duration of the game, is quite explicit. The duration shall be 2 equal periods of 45 minutes unless otherwise mutually agreed upon. Alas, Albion and Celtic were passing by each other too quickly to call a powwow on how to call the whole thing off, and the players lost count. The final tally is 20, a score difficult to bear, impossible to hide. And 252 souls have stayed to the end to watch perhaps even more. But Jackson Coburn, the Selkirk player-manager, faces us, his dignity unimpaired.
Well, yes, I'm obviously very disappointed, but as you can see, we're not too down at the moment. 2 or 3 vodkas will bring us back to life later. Must have a word for the goalkeeper. He had a wee sticky spell last week. But the score seems daft, 20-0, but if he hadn't been playing as well, it could have been 30.
Cowdenbeath have had a good record this year in the League Cup as it stands, you know. So we've played them in the league already once this year, and we drew 2 each with them over there. So that can go either way. Hoping it'll go Stirling way anyway.
The trail now leads from Stirling to Cowdenbeath. Both areas painfully aware of the effects of the miners' strike, which shows at that time no abating. Football used to be the most popular antidote to the privations of dangerous working life, and great players used to emerge from these parts with coal dust under their fingernails and gold in their toes. Now, reflecting the times, football has a struggle for survival. This is the 21st goal without reply by Stirling in the cup. But that rich vein they thought they had struck is about to be seen as fool's gold. Cowdenbeath take umbrage and retaliate. A wintry second half. Hypothermia locks on the terracings. The sky barely distinguishable from the mud underfoot, and goals seem eminently avoidable. Then, only for those with 20/20 vision, a goal is seen. Cowden beat the through. And nowadays, they don't have the decency to allow you to finish your bath before they make the draw for the next round.
Dundee United versus number 20. Birmingham.
Oh, there's a good game again. Hibs against Dundee United at Tannadice.
Number 10. Versus number 31. St Mirren. Oh.
They certainly don't lack confidence because they've already beaten St Mirren in the League Cup. In 1921, there was a miners' strike too, but no BBC. They used pigeons sometimes to carry the news, and when that year's final went to Celtic Park, the name that clung to the legs as they fluttered away from the ground was that of Blair of Partick Thistle, who scored the only goal against Rangers to take the cup to Fairhill. Now Rangers, whilst winning everything else, simply couldn't win the cup in those days. Then, a tall, straight-backed young man came to Ibrox from Airdrie. And as Bob McPhail recalls, he learned a lot from playing in a winning cup final Airdrie side.
And I felt overawed because I was playing with the great Hugh Gallagher and Willie Russell, Jock Ure, and one of the outside right, old Jimmy Reid, who could have been my father.
Bob has loaned the rich harvest of his medals to Rangers. The display contains 7 Cup winners' medals. He reaped this during one of the most famous periods for Rangers, doing the treble between 1934 and 36 and lifting the cup 6 times between 1928 and the war. And like many of his peers, he certainly had his cup final superstitions.
I had this, that I always went out last. I don't know why. I never fancied going out first, getting all the cheers and all the rest of it, because maybe well, it may have been shyness, and it may have been that the same lot would have been ridiculing you just 10 minutes after if you missed a goal. Yeah. I always wanted to go out last.
The tradition of Rangers was such that you had to be a Ranger off the field as well as on the field. Well, how far was this taken, this discipline?
To the church.
In what sense?
In this sense that there was an old man in my church, the Bourke Church in Barnhead, and he seemed to be always in contact with Mr. Struth, and if I wasn't at church in the morning, Mr. Struth could tell me, "You weren't at church yesterday? Why?" And if I said to him, "How could I be at church if I was in here having an injury attended to?" "Oh, get away, get away."
Did that all have an effect on Rangers players?
Yes, oh yes, oh yes. Mr. Struth insisted on us all going nicely dressed. Not flashily dressed, nicely dressed. He had black shoes, socks, blue suit, blue nap coat. You'll be able to go back that time too, with a velvet collar and bowler hat.
Even to a cup final at Hampden?
To every game.
The Evening Times, Glasgow, Saturday, April 24th, 1937. The Scottish Cup result of that day, Celtic 2, Aberdeen 1. Nothing exceptional about that in its own right, except it was a very special day. Because when you look at the newspaper coverage and that 2-page spread and that vast crowd in these photographs, one little paragraph fascinates me, which reads, "There was lots of room at 2:30, the 100,000 being exceeded, and while it was impossible that last week's figures would be reached, it looked as if the final record of 118,000 would be surpassed. Not only was it surpassed, it was demolished. It was 146,433 people turned out, almost the population of a sizable city. And that is a club record for British football that has stood to this day." One wonders how the players reacted. Well, I think they were probably more subdued in the celebrations than they are nowadays. There, for example, the Celtic players with a cup after the game. But there was one very special player there, a man who holds a record at having played in finals in the north of Ireland, the south of Ireland, in England and in Scotland. Medals he treasures to this day. You see, when I look back at old pictures of 1937 and the cup final then, Jimmy, I sometimes find it difficult to envisage a crowd of over 147,000?
We were never expecting that crowd like that. And it's only if we realised it when we were going running on the park. It was just like going through that tunnel. It was just like a thunder, you know.
Well, what did you do on that particular day? Can you remember now?
The Saturday before,
Yes.
Well, I just travelled down to Glasgow and met about 12 o'clock in the bank restaurant. And then we were taken there from there with a police escort, you know, on the bus and that. It was the same coming back. I mean, we could hardly get back with the crowd.
The manager at the time was?
Mealy.
Mealy. Now, what did he say to you before the game? I mean, did he say anything at all that was to inspire you?
No, he did not. He was one of these kind of men that just come in and saying, just say all the best, boys. He'll let you do the thing, mate. And then after it, I mean, he was the same after the game. He would hardly shake hands with you. He'd just say, that was very good. And
Unemotional?
It was the matter. I went, even when the cup final, when I scored 3 goals against the Rangers, in the Charity Cup final, I come in, and I near made it my semi for to pass me and whatnot. He just passed me. He says, don't let that go to your head.
He never really did. Jimmy went to Wembley and won a medal with Manchester United in 1948. But was it a grander experience than Hampden?
Well, the atmosphere's different up there, you know. I mean, up at Wembley, it's first class and whatnot. But I mean, going out on at Hampden, the thing is, if you're a Celtic player or a Rangers player, or an Old Firm player, you think it's the greatest thing in the world is to put on that jersey and go out there and win cups for your club.
Celtic against Aberdeen, 1937. This is the era when spot the ball seemed to have been invented. That is Celtic scoring. Film coverage was becoming more comprehensive, but still elusive. What it does convey in its own fragmentary way is the almost overpowering sense of multitudes that nowadays seems almost incomprehensible to us. Aberdeen equalising, the score 1-1. What you're looking at now is something of an antique and has to be explained to the unaccustomed eye. It's a cue to get into a football match. Long after the game had started, they were still trying to flood through the turnstiles, and in fact, thousands were locked out. The second half, the claustrophobic terraces still summoning up encouragement. And this historic day ends with Willie Buchan going into the Celtic legend books as the man who scored a winner in front of the biggest ever audience. It was the 15th time Celtic had won the cup. They were the record holders.
No matter what team I played with, if I go over, when I travelled, even when it was with Manchester and Aberdeen and all these and that, and I'm not Jimmy Delaney at Aberdeen. I'm always Jimmy Delaney at Celtic. That's the way if you've played with Old Firm, they just class you. You're talked to as Jimmy Delaney at Celtic, not Jimmy Delaney Manchester United.
The brand is there.
The brand is there.
In 1938, the size of Hampden crowds was being dwarfed by those in another place, Nuremberg. And in that year, the cup went to the Kingdom of Fife for the first time. The first match at Hampden ended in a 1-1 draw. But in the replay, there's the evidence of an emphatic win. And still the only second division side to won the cup. Aberdeen won it after the war, beating Hibs 2-1, their first ever win. But then Rangers took over. In the late 40s, early 50s, the cup seemed an almost permanent fixture at Ibrox Park. And there are those whose eyes grow misty when you talk of that era. This was East 5 back in a final against a very mighty Rangers side. It was a time when they seemed to be almost invincible. And with only 40 seconds gone, Rangers were to score. Willie Finlay.
Into the second half, and though Rangers look good, the cup isn't on the Ibrox shelf yet. If George Young, here in a spellbinding back display, has anything to do with it, it won't be long now. Young is at his brilliant best as he sends the Ibrox attack away again. But hold it. Duncanson is fouled near the danger zone. It's a free kick on the edge of the area. Sammy Cox takes the kick, and young Gordon Easton brings off the save of the day. A third-team goalkeeper, he's been playing like a veteran. It would have taken 3 goalies to keep out that rampant Rangers attack. Here they are again, with Willie Thornton putting them 2 up. Eddie Rutherford, number 7, leads the way goalward. It's his centre to Findlay that gives Willie Thornton goal number 3.
Most of us went to Hampden for the first time as schoolboys. Thus, it's difficult to shake off the feeling of awe it inspires, even amongst those who eventually trod the pitch with very great success.
I can remember going away broken-hearted, actually, standing in the schoolboys' enclosure. In the old days, used to get tickets in schoolboys' enclosure, and Celtic were playing Clyde, and if you remember, Archie Robertson put one in the back of the net at the last minute, and it broke my heart, that did. And I came back to the replay on a Wednesday, and Tommy Ring scored a goal. I thought he was hell of lucky, but he scored the goal anyway. And I remember meeting Tommy Ring years later, and I said to Tommy, you know, you broke my heart one night at Hampden. And I remember that very, very vividly, and it was great disappointment, because when I was a youngster, I mean, Celtic didn't win all that many things.
Clyde this time, but once more solid defensive work halts the attack, and play swings the other way. The Celtic break through, but not to score. Back in the Celtic half now, and Clyde are awarded a free kick, which is taken by left-back Harry Haddock. Both Ring and Bonner go for it. It rebounds off Ring, and it's a goal. The first and only goal of the match. What a day for Clyde, as captain Tommy Anderson holds aloft the cup, which his team have wrested from Celtic, the previous holders.
Manhattan? No. Cowdenbeath? Yes. The lights of Mossmoran go on whether there's a cup game in town or not. And this tie between St Mirren and Cowdenbeath is prefaced by the thought that the last time the Paisley side were here, they lost. The best cure for that? Go in front. There's no stage fright now. Just a firming up of an unassailable lead that accurately reflects the gap in quality between the two sides. Even this early on a cold evening, Cowdenbeath seemed terribly deflated as St Mirren go further ahead. This is an area you approach with circumspection. Football managers do not take kindly to intruders. And this special preoccupation, of course, is the futile pursuit of trying to be heard. It was all a serious business, but St Mirren progress. And of course, they're led by a manager who has experienced it all.
I've been to Hampden, some of these lads haven't been, and it's a magnificent experience. Last season in the semi, we let ourselves down, and they were so, the lads that had been in 3 semis, they were so sick, it was unbelievable in the dressing room.
How is defeat to you, Alec? How do you sustain defeat, especially in a cup game?
Well, any defeat to me, I hate it. My players will tell you I think I must be one of the worst losers in the world.
You take it home with you?
I took it home, and I know it's not fair to my wife and kids, but I do take it home. They know if I get in a Saturday night and we've been beaten, for about the first hour or so, they don't speak to me hardly, and they just leave me alone.
Next round, they're united, but there's plenty time to contemplate that. Only time now to wash off the previous round.
Well, fortunately, not all historical records weigh 10 tons, and with the use of microfilm and this machine, we can look at almost any newspaper of the past. And what fascinates us is the front page of the Glasgow Herald, dated Thursday, April 27th, 1961. Look at that headline, payoff to teachers, and down here, but strikes still likely to go on, so what's new? But what really interests us is the column beside it, this thin one here, headed Joyful Night in Streets of Dunfermline, 25,000 welcome cup winners. And down at the bottom here, Traffic Chaos in Glasgow, which referred to the previous evening when Celtic played Dunfermline in a Scottish Cup final replay won by the Fifers. But what is astonishing about that column and the report on the match itself by the leading football writer of the time for the Glasgow Herald, Cyril Horn, is that in all the column inches, down there and there isn't a single reference to the man who was manager of Dunfermline and who became eventually the most successful club manager in the business, Jock Stein.
He went on to win everything he could win, yet one wonders how he appraises his very first win in '61.
Well, very special, because it was the first time from Dunfermline I'd ever been in anything, and plus as well, it was my first year, full year as a manager, and playing against Celtic, the team that I had left, was a bit special. But it was a great day for us, because it was after a replay, and we were all excited in the first game, but I think that really that was what set Dunfermline up for the future as well, which was very important.
Thompson to Peebles. And it's goal! And it's centre forward Thompson, who's made the score. Dunfermline 1, Celtic 0 to Peebles. Dixon. And he scores! And he scored! Dixon has scored! And that makes it, with only a minute or so to go, Dunfermline 2, Celtic 0. I've never seen such a bunch of sandboys. And that's Jock Stein coming in.
Celtic, though, never developed travel sickness going to Hampden. The short journey became a very familiar one. You might almost say Stein was something of an alchemist, turning a leaden club into the dominating influence of the late 60s, 70s. And Billy McNeill cannot forget being at the birth of it all. It was special.
Oh, I think undoubtedly, Archie. There's various reasons for that. I had already played in two finals, both of which had gone to replays, and we'd lost both of them. And here we were winning it for the first time. For me, particularly, I scored a winning goal, which made it great, because if you're a centre-half, you don't get all that many goals, and to get one as important as that was terrific. But more importantly for the club, it sort of heralded the start of a real successful era.
Inside forward Lennox, with McLean out of position for once. And Lennox showing a turn of speed they didn't expect. Corner for Celtic. There he goes. It's a good one. It's a goal! A goal by McNeill. Billy McNeill has scored. With 9 minutes to go. Well, that's a captain's job. And he's made the score. Celtic 3, Dunfermline 2.
Isn't it marvellous what you can do with history when it's in this liquid form? You can speed it up. You can stop it. You can spin it back. It's almost totally under your control, except that you can't alter the result. And even though it's in flickery black and white film, as if it's been directed by Max Sennett, to the people who played in that game, that Rangers-Celtic Cup final in 1966, it glows in resplendent Technicolor.
Well, the 66 final sticks out in my mind simply because it was a replay, tremendous atmosphere, over 100,000 people on the ground, and I'll always be remembered for the goal Kai Johansson scored, the Danish fullback that played on our side. Celtic were a good side at the time, and the play came about here, and I was in the middle of the park here, and Kai had been up in an overlap, and it was cut back to him, and he crashed the ball in the far corner of the goals against Ronnie Simpson, and we're better to score than the Rangers end against Celtic, and that one goal proved to be the match winner, and we won the cup 1-0.
Inside forward Johnston. Well, I don't know how McLean missed that one. And somebody's foot stopped that one. And there's a goal by Johansson. Well, there it is. Johansson, the first Danish player ever to appear in a cup final, and he is celebrated by scoring the first goal.
I think it's a real occasion. There's a different feel to a cup final from an ordinary match. One of the problems in Scottish football, I think, particularly at that time, we tended to meet Rangers more often than not in the cup final, and it tends to underrate it in a whole lot of people's eyes, I think. But for me, there was always something special about it. There was great atmosphere. The weather invariably is that bit better. The scene was great. I always loved playing at Hampden. I thought it was terrific.
Usual, Billy McNeil will be up for this. There's McNeil, it's a goal. A goal by McNeil as the Rangers defence absolutely slept, brilliantly taken by McNeil. And within a minute of the start of the game, Celtic have gone 1 goal up. Look at this hesitancy. Here's Lennox, almost with a gift. It's a goal by Lennox. Number 2 for Celtic. Lennox the scorer. Greg. Here's Connolly. What a chance for Connolly. It's a goal. It's a goal by Connolly. On towards all. No offside. McKinnon appealing for offside, but no. Here's Chalmers. It's a great goal by Chalmers.
Well, apart from yourself, of course, you must have witnessed some great performances in cup finals.
Oh, tremendous, Archie. I remember one in particular, the 6-1 result against Hibernian when Dixie Dean scored a hat-trick. I scored the first goal, just to mention that, by the way. But I roomed with Dixie before the cup final, and Dixie at that time had a little bit of an Indian sign on Hibs and could always score a goal or two. And I remember sitting in the room talking about the final, and we were obviously naturally enough keyed up about it, and Dixie said to me, you know, he said, I fancy myself to score at least 2. He said, in fact, he said, well, a bit of luck, I might even get a hat-trick. And if you remember, he said that also the following day, he said, if I score a hat-trick, I'm going to do a somersault. He did score a hat-trick, and he did the somersault as well.
Bobby Murdoch with it. Gideon slows a goal. A goal by Dean. Ball coming off his arm, but Brownlee just getting to that, or does he? It's Dean's, it's in. What a chance. Must be a goal. No. He scored. Dean's has scored number 3. Murdoch. Rock fighting hard, but again, you see somebody at the back for Celtic. And Dean's is onside. Great chance for Dean's, it's a goal.
The Centenary Cup, 1973. It was to be the last time a crowd of over 100,000 would attend a Scottish Cup final.
Big Tam, I felt, only scored about 1 goal or 2 goals for Rangers in his whole career. And this is a goal I'll never forget. And remember, the ball came off that far post there, came right across, come back off of this post, and came back along the line. And Big Tam had ran in, and he just put his foot up and knocked it over. And quite honestly, the boys were kidding him on in the dressing room after it. If he hadn't these long studs in his boots, he'd have missed the ball, because it only went so far over the line. But then again, if it goes over that line, it all count, and we went on to win the cup that year 3-2.
And it's in there. It's there. Forsyth getting the final touch.
What was the last one like? I remember it very well indeed. You played against Airdrie. As I recall, I may be wrong about this, but as I recall, you hadn't in fact told anybody you were going to retire after the game until after it.
Well, it hadn't been announced officially. We had, the rest of the players knew about it the night before, and I think they felt that it was something special. We wanted to go out in a victory, and we went out in a victory. When I look back on it now, actually, I must have been a bit daft, because I had a bit of football left. I'm not saying I could have played at my best, but I'm quite sure I had a bit of football left, and perhaps I was just a bit silly to leave so early.
Well, I remember the scene only too well, you walking up to get the cup. And before you got the cup, as you maybe recollect yourself, you turned away from whoever was going to present you with it, and you shook hands with somebody down in front. It may have been friends or something, and you looked quite emotional. I wonder if you remember that.
Yeah, I do remember it. In actual fact, I was very lucky, because Big Jock went on to the SFA, and it was actually my family, and we got tickets for the kids, and they were there right in front of it. And it was probably one of the kids that I was leaning over to, and they got tickets, and they were right in front of the cup. So we've got 1 or 2 photographs in the house where they're in it. And
you look a wee bit red-eyed.
Well, I was. To be honest with you, I think that it's great to go out at the top, Archie, but knowing that nothing like that's going to happen for you again is it's a bit emotional, and I felt the emotions at that particular time.
Celtic wanted the attack in as Kenny Dalglish gets that beautifully set up for him. It's a neat chip, it must be! Paul Wilson! Neatly floated in, and McCulloch trying to go in on this. There's Whitefoot with it. McCann, and it's there, a goal by McCann. There's Lennox with it, that's a good goal! Paul Wilson. Lennox, look at him go. This is, it must be a penalty. Penalty kick. And McCluskey with it. There it is. 3-1 for Celtic.
During this spell, Celtic were in danger of running out of cupboard room to place trophies or wall space upon which to hang the evidence of their supremacy. But did all these foreign ventures dwarf the Scottish Cup and render it less meaningful?
No, not really. No, we had a great Scottish Cup success as well in 1967. We went to play the semi-final of the European Cup, and we went to Czechoslovakia, and we come back to play the final of the Cup against Aberdeen and won 2-0 that day with 2 Willie Wallace goals. And we played exceptionally well. We had played midweek, and people say you can't play in midweek and then play in a final. We had played midweek in the semi-final, the second leg in Czechoslovakia, and then come back and won 2-0 in the final. No, I think the Scottish Cup's a bit special. Everyone looks forward to that because it can take you into Europe the following year. Even though you won the championship, you still want to win the Cup as well. And I think that it will always be a bit special, the Scottish Cup.
Ayr, Wamnera Toon surpasses for playable pitches even when so many games are off in other parts of the country. It is bright but cold. When teams like St Mirren are expected to win, they tend to think of themselves as pressurised, and sometimes it's a very difficult feeling to shake off. There can be good money in the Cup, especially in the latter stages. Ayr can do with the cash. It's a fair incentive. Team talks remain mysteries to the outside world, and it's perhaps just as well. Outside, where it really matters, the pitch is certainly hard, the game a bit of a lottery. And time drags on to the second half. A substitution alters the course of events. 1-0. It's sufficient, and welcome to Alec Miller. In Paisley, folk quite naturally will give you a hearty conversation about the year 1959. That was when the Saints last won the Cup. Recently, they've been in 3 semi-finals in a row, and the folk here don't take kindly to jokes about always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Tommy Bryceland will always be remembered for his first goal in that final. It's been described a million times round the hostelries in the area. The second goal was scored by a very talented winger by the name of Alistair Miller. It was a confident, handsome win. Now, Miller and Bryceland are supporters.
I remember because it was on the Friday night, it was our boys' brigade inspection, and I was taking the vaulting horse at that time. And I was going over this vaulting horse on a Friday night. You can imagine it nowadays, you know. A very experienced £100,000 player going over a vaulting horse on a Friday night. But that was true. That was our inspection night, the Friday night, over the vaulting horse, way to our bed, so up the next day, meeting at Ferguson's again.
You didn't even change for a cup final, you just went through the usual routine?
The usual routine, part-time.
Oh, that's good.
Dundee United don't like Love Street all that much. If given the choice, they would rather play elsewhere. But if the record is not a glowing one here, they now give an unmistakable and early evidence that this will be their day. St Mirren's response is given assistance by a very soft touch. It's a penalty kick. Now they're back in it. But of course Dundee United have flair and ability and speed and Paul Sturrock. So many players getting goals off his speed, like David Hodge there. Goalkeepers being led off hardly inspire optimism. Things are going wrong, and they're not going to get better. Then we discover that one of the most mild-mannered men in the game has a temper. It really was a reckless tackle on him, but Paul is not in a forgiving mood. For the first time in his career, he takes an early bath. But that doesn't obstruct United's passage to the semi-finals. When they are in the mood, the remorseless nature of their play will wear anybody down. St Mirren are beginning to crumble, and against 10 men. So the buddies will have to console themselves with memories of 1959, that little bit longer. New armies have formed over the past 5 years. The Red Army from the north regard a journey to the Scottish Cup as a mere jaunt. They can boast of faraway places like Munich and Gothenburg. They're a different kind of support from the old firms, perhaps more family-orientated. But like anybody else, they're fond of success. And in the past 3 years, the club has increased their capacity to sing and dance.
Brilliant ball by Cooper. DL. Then it goes into John McDonald, he scored. 12 minutes of the first half gone. That's a good-looking ball again at Jackson. Hard hit there by Simpson. And there's a floating equaliser by Alec McLeish. Strachan. Well, that's a brilliant ball. McGee, he scored. McGee running very well. And it's still there. What's McGee going to do? Must be. Yes. Strachan has made it 3-1. There goes Cooper. Cooper with a great chance. Cooper must make it 4. He does. Oh. Again, now, Simpson. Wants a 1-2. That's a good ball. McGee likes his position. It could be there. It is the winner. That will win the cup. Eric Black, 1-0. Strachan plays it away wide. Alec McLeish is up. Here's Black with a chance. Has it gone in? It has. Danny McGray. Well, there's a chance. And there's the equaliser. Paul McStay. Bell with a great goal. Off the post. I thought it was in. And then it is, yes. Mark McGee does it.
The first time they had achieved a double, League and Cup. The trophies look resplendent together. They're on their way to Edinburgh, to Tynecastle for the replay. Dundee United support is small compared to others, but they have a sound relationship with the club and they're very loyal. And on that particular night, Paul Sturrock, reinstated in the eyes of the law, eludes captivity and United inch forward. The quality of the play is summed up by that goal, as United go well in front. But Aberdeen are very proud. This is their last fling. 2-1, but too late. Dundee United's third final. Along with Aberdeen over the past 5 or so years, they've altered the whole political base of Scottish football. People now talk of them with respect, where previously, years ago, they couldn't be taken seriously. Doug Houston played for United in their first final in '74, and despite the defeat, relishes the memory.
I think so. I think there's very few opportunities of appearing in one, and it's something that's imprinted on you when you look back over your career, especially when you've stopped playing, I think. It's nice to look back and say, well, I appeared in one.
Any special things you do recall?
I remember on that particular day, it was a very nice day. Andy Gray and myself, both living in Glasgow, we'd come back on the Friday back home, and I'd gone and collected him at his house in Drumchapel just before lunchtime, and we made our way to Hampden, and I think it was a contrast. I was the experienced player, and there was a wee bit of apprehension in my mind. Although he was a young Gallus guy, and I think he thought, well, we're a certainty, you know.
Do you get any feeling of reaction within the city to United getting to the final again?
Yes, I think so. I think that's, especially at school. I'm a teacher at school in Dundee here, and it's the buzz all around the playground and even in the staff room. I think it's affecting adults and children alike.
In the other semi-final, Celtic have taken an inordinately long time to dispose of Motherwell, who've lasted 1 3/4 games before succumbing. And when they do, the heavens seem to open, and Celtic are left wondering why it was all so difficult in the first place. In the space of 15 minutes, they demolish a tiring side whose legs have run proudly but cannot give any more. So Celtic look forward to their 43rd final. It's fitting that both sides of the country are represented in the 100th final. Fitting that the old order is being challenged by a newer force. It'll be a clash of environments as well, for Celtic regard Hampden as being only a lap of honour away. It's their parish. United have to enter foreign territory, but they'll find sympathy with those who would like the old firm further offended.
Now, I must say I've been looking forward for months to this 100th Cup final, so that when I arrived at Hampden this morning, and I feel it even now, got the impression that these ghosts of the old players, the famous players from all these Cup finals, were peering down at us. Well, you know, when Celtic and Dundee United ran out onto the pitch in front of 63,000 today, that feeling vanished. It was merely another Cup final, and we sat back and waited for a wonderful game.
And the honour falls to Frank Mugabe to get the 100th Scottish Cup final underway. And appropriately, the sun bathing Hampden now. The two brothers playing in the final, Paul and Willie McStay, already in the action. And I think offside against that quick darting move by Maurice Johnson. There's Richard Goff. Notice that Beattie is playing, it seems to be in midfield, picked up by McLeod. Aiken. And Italy picked up there by Van, and that was a very light tackle. There'll be the slightest reprimand for Paul McStay about that. Nothing more than that, just a warning. Dodds with a lovely back end, and there's Bannon. That was a very intelligent piece of play by David Dodds. That's what he's so very good at. Now watch Dodds, the reverse header. And Bannon, who can hit the ball with both feet extremely well, totally miscuing that. Said the pitch is rather bumpy in the middle. Another push, Mugabe, very keen in taking that. Well, we saw Billy Kirkwood kissing somebody this season, so catching on. Free kick to Celtic. Either of them could take it. Ooh, that was a clever ball indeed. Well, the Dundee United defence were expecting something high and chipped to the far post, and instead Probin decided to drive it low. And watch Johnson coming in, and he did get the touch. Here's Buns. Oh, well taken again by Beattie. Dabbing it forward to Sturrock. Neat little turn there by Sturrock. The Celtic defence coped with that very well. Here's Milne though. Over to David Dodds. Brilliant clearance by Tom McAdam. Oh, that's defending at his very best, and a wild tackle by Billy Kirkwood, and the referee will certainly book him for that. Very quality ball there by Ralph Bell, and look at that, McAdam just in there. It might have been a quick rat-a-tat dodge, and then McAdam. Dainty footwork, David Crobin, and McGarvey just ran himself against the player. Not a single United player in the Celtic half with just about 30 seconds of injury time gone. And there it goes. No scoring at the end of the first half of the 100th Cup final. The players have been absolutely drenched. I must say, one of the criterion for a commentator is the passing of time, and this first half for me has flown past. So to that extent, I must have enjoyed it. There's been a lot of good play. Mr. McGinley about to start the second half. On we go. 45 minutes left, and the possibility of extra time, of course. Billy Kirkwood. Aiken shouting for everybody to get out of the way. Burns. That's right beyond David Neary. Johnston. Well, initially I thought that Malthus may have been impeding him, but the referee judges he was pulling away, and therefore it's a free kick. Danny McGrain doesn't want to make it better for United there, kept his eye on that very closely. Johnston. Oops. High right off it. Oh, that was hard, yes, free kick. Well, that noise you can hear in the background is the response of the Dundee United supporters. That's floated in well. Great clearance again by McAdam. That's outstanding in the air. Bannon. Here's Malthus. Oh, could have done that better. David Dodds. There's a shot, he scored. Beattie has scored for Dundee United. The deadlock is broken. 9 minutes of that second half gone, and there is an eruption of joy under that enclosure. What a clever goal that was, and David Dodds was right at the basis of it. Brilliantly skilled play initially, then swept it across, and Beattie side-footing it and angling it all in the one. 1-0 for United. Well, that certainly came, not surprisingly, but the suddenness of the move by Dodds way back, totally deceiving Roy Aiken. Here's Billy Kirkwood. He has lots of space, so has Ralph Milne. Milne can't keep it in, though, and it was a bad ball by Kirkwood, though, an uneven ball. Now watch this. Isn't that superb, the way he went round Aiken, and he was pressurised, and that's very good finishing. The Dundee United supporters want me to give the score. I can tell them it's 1-0. And they're playing with confidence. McLeod doesn't get there. Now he's talking about this tireless energy of the hard workers, and that was evidence of it there. Billy Kirkwood stepping in a defensive position. And a bad ball to Frank McGarvey. Almost did a Davy Dodds there. Now we have Milne. Pushed it too far. Willie McStay. Now, too much there by Danny McGrain. McStay got it late. Willie, that is. Here's McGrain. Offside, McGarvey. Well, Billy, I heard you talking about the introduction of Brian McClair. I think it's almost inevitable, isn't it?
I think it's got to happen, Archie, yes. At the moment, you know, Celtic look a team that need a little bit of inspiration. Now, at the moment, it's difficult to see where that's going to come from. Even the support, which is, to me, is the best support in the business, they've gone just a little bit quiet. They're looking for something, and I think the Celtic team are looking for inspiration. But at the moment, really, to be fair to Dundee United, they're not going to allow Celtic any quarter at all.
And here is the substitution. Brian McClair coming on. And United fans will remember his outstanding solo goal against the Tannadice men earlier this season when he ran the full end of Celtic Park, possibly one of the goals of the season. Here's McClair, the very man that Archie Knox was talking about, in his best position, just behind the strikers, coming forward. Oh, and having built him up. Danny McGrain again. Oh. Well, he's certainly trying to prove me wrong. Well, that was a very good finish. He kept it down, took a player on first, and he did everything right. There wasn't much wrong with that at all. Yeah, free kick to Celtic. Archie Knox, I'm getting the message that Celtic are going to bring O'Leary on now. What do you think of that?
Well, I really don't know where, with being a defender, then it might mean that Roy Aitken's going to push into the middle of the park, and that might be the spur that Celtic need at this stage, because they certainly need something. As the game goes on and you come to the latter stages, then players are going to tire, and somebody like Roy Aitken coming into the middle of the park, who is somebody that will most certainly keep going for the entire 90 minutes, then might be just the inspiration that Celtic need.
Agree with that, Billy?
Yeah, I think they've got to take a chance now, Archie.
And Paul McStay is coming off,
well,
by the way.
Yeah, sometimes a manager's got to be unpopular, but it's the last cast of the dice for David Hayes. He's going to put O'Leary at the back and push Roy Aitken forward, hope that his appetite
and
for
there
the game
goes Aitken just flashing across the picture, Billy, as you spoke, yeah. Now McGarvey. It's a reverse pass, and Aitken is up there, as he said. Here's the shot I expected. Free kick, and this could be very interesting. Now, I've seen Celtic score from free kicks, if not absolutely directly, then from some of the intricate moves that Provan and McLeod have worked out together. That's a free kick. There's Hamish McAlpin. And only twice in the history of the Scottish Cup have goals been scored direct from a free kick. Is this a bit of history? It is! David Provan. The equaliser. Minutes of the second half gone, and only the third direct free kick scored in the history of this competition. And they don't care about the history books just now. The reality of the present is that Provan, with one kick, has brought Celtic back into this game when they looked as if they were dying on the feet. A superbly struck free kick. Away it went, and McAlpin couldn't possibly get near that. Billy McNeil.
Yeah, well, they were looking for inspiration, Archie. They've got it now. This is what they wanted. This is what they needed. They've got the response on the Terracing as well. I think Dundee United in for a very, very hectic last 12 minutes or so.
10 minutes of the game left. There's Aitken wanting it and charges forward.
people up. Both McLeod and Johnson, the opportunity to sweep it in. Goff. Trying to slow things down. Danny goes to McGarvey. Can he put it away? Great goalkeeping, and there's no flag up. And I think that was a distinct miss. Good goalkeeping, but I would have thought he'd been able to chip him or put it to the side. Swatch has been right through. Deep touch there, there's McGarvey. Well, no, it was a difficult angle. McAlpin did rather well. McGrain. There's Johnston. And United are on the rack. That's a near post one. There's a header again, right across goal. Well, Archie Knox, very briefly, do you think United can hold out like this?
Well, they're going to be in for a torrid last 5 minutes. It's amazing what a goal can do for a team. Tired legs have suddenly become fresh legs again, and United, having looked in control up until that goal, are suddenly going through the mill now, and it's going to be very difficult for them to maybe hold out for this last 5 minutes.
Well, Danny McGrain just got rid of that and no more. Oh, Celtic defence deciding to be suicidal. Billy Kirkwood. There goes Milne, and he dabs it ahead too quickly. Oh, he's all right. Man of iron. Well, these cup finals have a habit of going to extra time. Looked like a push. No, there's McClare. McGarvey. Hegarty. Here's Aiken. Good drifting ball. It's there, McGarvey. 2-1. 5 minutes left. And he may survive the jubilation. McGarvey has got one of the most crucial goals he has ever scored. And there'll be a great deal of carousing if Celtic can hold out these last 5 minutes. A great run by Aiken, and pushing him forward paid off with that one header alone. McAlpin has had no chance with that. From the side, look at that, he just nudged it away from McAlpin. Throw to United. So precious little time for them to save this. Goff was up, and David Dodds was almost in there. There's O'Fallon again, and O'Leary has done brilliantly in the space of 10 seconds. The big Irishman doing a McAdam almost. Great defensive work. Just up he went there for this. And right on the spot to head it off. Goff tries to go in. McClare doesn't clear it well. Here's Milne. Oh, I don't think Sturrock went for that. John Holt, Aiken, hard into it as ever. On towards Sturrock. There's a great shot by Malthus. Just floated away at the last. As good a shot as we've had all afternoon, drifting away. And there is Goff. Really got to throw everything into it now. Balls in the Celtic crowd, it may take some time to come back, in fact. Oh, promptly. Well into injury time. 30 seconds into it. Holt. Starrett. No, can't get it. And there it goes. David Hay, after 2 years, has won his first trophy. And don't they realise it? Oh, the jubilations down in that bench a minute ago. David Hay was swamped by his players. There he is. He survived, and, you know, he really is one of the gentlemen in the sport. Calm, sometimes a little bit tense and calm, but nevertheless, he has steered Celtic to this historic victory. Paul McStay in there, the man who was substituted, and a team that seemed out of it at a significant period in that second half, fighting back, and there's no question but that the man who changed the whole tide was Davy Probyn with that one kick. I somehow get the feeling if that hadn't come, that break that would have been talked about, then things might have been very difficult indeed. Look at this. There is no greater feeling, I suppose, that mixture of relief and exhilaration and triumph. Well, there are the scenes as the supporters who probably will not leave Hampden Park for some time. Danny McGrain received the Scottish Cup. The 5th time he's been in a cup-winning side. The man who scored that brilliant free kick, as I said, only 3 free kicks, direct free kicks scored. The other 2 are by Morton.
Well, what an amazing second half, and I wonder if you can hear in the background some of the Celtic supporters who simply refused to leave Hampden Park. No wonder. It was an increased jubilation because it looked at one stage, halfway through that second half, as if Dundee United would win the Scottish Cup for the first time, but they didn't. I think the game hinged on that amazing free kick by David Probyn. So Celtic pick up the cup in the 100th Scottish Cup final. And I brought out, not only to drag out, 3 delighted men. Roy Aitken, who was the man of the match, by the way, Mr. Superfit Award, David Hay, the manager, and of course the captain, Danny McGrain. Let me go to Roy first. I wonder, when you changed and the tactics were changed and you went forward, if you felt that even despite that, the game was going to slip away from you 1-0 down.
I think at that stage it was, you know, we're all pushing forward for a goal. When they go 1 ahead, they don't normally lose it, Archie. I mean, they tend to spoil the game when they go 1 ahead. They knock it back to the goalie, they keep a hold of the ball. I mean, to be fair to the boys, we kept at them, and what, as you say, what a great goal by David Probyn.
Did you enjoy going forward?
Great. As I say, I'll play wherever I'm picked to play. You know, it's always nice to get in the midfield. You're involved in the game more. You know, and at that stage in the game, we had all the ball at that time.
By and large, how did you want to play this game, Davy?
To win the cup. To be honest, Archie, you know, we knew it was always going to be a hard game because United are a first-class side. We were a bit concerned when they scored the first goal because I felt we'd upper hand without sort of pressurising them at the back in the first half. And all credit to the players for coming back in. I think we won the cup in the true Celtic tradition.
Were you, like anybody else, worried when they did go in front?
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I was thinking again, is this another runners-up for me, you know, and as I say, this would have been the 3rd final, and really I don't think I could have taken it. But fortunately, I've got to thank the lads and got to thank that great support in the terracing today.
Danny, that's your 4th, I believe. 5th, I beg your pardon. You're quite right, Your 5th winners one and a couple of runners-up. Would you put that down as one of the best?
Yeah, I would do. The boys, as you said, Dundee United went in front. The heads went down a bit. After about 5-10 minutes, Dundee United had a hold of the game. We came back after that. The manager changed a few things at the middle of the park, and that was the turning point in the game. Roy going forward was forceful play. get in their half.
You know, I was talking to people about the first ever Scottish Cup win, like Jock Stein thought Dunfermline when he won it was marvellous. But the very fact, Danny, that you've gone 2 years without winning anything, does that make it a bit special?
Makes it a little bit sweeter, due to the fact we've had a little bit of disappointment this year with Rapid Vienna. The supporters have been sort of kicked in the teeth, as with we, the players, and the club. Excuse me. And this is our way of repaying our fans by the great support.
Davey, I think you hinted at it there in your previous reply that you couldn't have stood it if you'd had another runners-up. What did you mean by that? What would have happened if you haven't lost, but what were you thinking of there?
Well, you'll never know, Archie, because it didn't happen, to be honest. OK, there'd be a lot of questions put the fact that you're Celtic manager and you're always runner-up, and you'd have questioned yourself a wee bit, but I'd probably still carried on if the fans and the board had wanted it.
Did you enjoy the day in total, or has it now been obliterated by just that short memory of these two goals?
No, I think the Scottish Cup final is always a game that's remembered the whole day. I mean, it's the build-up's been all week for us. We went to Seamill on Thursday. I mean, we've built up all week for this game, and the full deal will remember with me anyway.
Well, there we are. The Cup's away to Parkhead, and I'm sure the Celtic supporters will like to see again how, in fact, they won the Cup under the most dramatic circumstances. So as we look back on these 3 goals, we say good night from Hampden Park.
Oh, could have done that better. David Dodds. There's a shot, he scored. And only twice in the history of the Scottish Cup have goals been scored direct from a free kick. Is this a bit of history? It is! Hegarty. Here's Aiken. Good drifting ball, it's there, Mugabe.